Just about everybody you can think of wears a mask. They are masking. Now, when we talk about masking, we're not talking about a literal mask, that you wear at Halloween or to a costume party, but we're talking about behavior. We're talking about what some people call putting on airs or putting up a front. We are pretending to be something or somebody that we are not, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. People mask just because of good manners. I mean, if you behave the way that you felt all the time, you would make people miserable. Well, some people do that by design, and some people wear a mean mask, because they want to come across as intimidating. They like to play the role of the bully. They want people to run in fear of them, so they put on this tough guy mask. But typically, that's not the type of mask that most people wear. A lot of people do, but I would like to think that most of the time people put on just a pleasant, okay, I'm here to get along with everyone type of a mask. All right, so everyone does this. And, there's an old saying that you really don't know somebody until you marry them. What they mean is when you marry somebody, you get to see them without their mask on. You get to see the real person when they're not trying to hide who they really are. But I got a better way of saying that because, you can't marry everybody. I married one person, and that's the only person I ever intend to marry. But I say it this way. I say you don't really know somebody until you take a road trip with them. Have you ever taken a road trip with somebody and you find out, geez, this person's a jerk? It happens. They're a backseat driver or they're very domineering, a dominant, and they're a controller or whatever. So the mask has come off. They're not being nice anymore. You get stuck in a car with somebody for hours or maybe days on end, you get to see the real person. So the point of all that is everybody masked. But you notice we talk about road trips and getting married. The real you is still there. And there are times when the real you is going to be exposed. All right, so why is it that we're wearing this mask? Now let's stop and think about everybody, but with emphasis on people with Asperger syndrome. But basically, we all wear masks for the same reason. We all mask for the same reason, and it's kind of like a shield, It's like a defense mechanism. We want others to accept us by whatever means. We may want them to accept us because we're nice, or some people want to be accepted as the tough guy. But for whatever reason, we mask because we want to be accepted. Now, when it comes to people with Asperger syndrome, there's another reason why we mask, and that is because we don't want to be rejected. And so we put on this mask, and people will think we're neurotypical, that we're concentric instead of eccentric, that we're normal people. And sometimes it works, but I've met a few Aspies, I've met more than a few Aspies who say when they walk into a room of complete strangers, they figure them out within a split second. I mean, half of a second, and they say this person's a little bit quirky. This person is, they're eccentric. They're kind of odd. I can tell there's something different about them by their body language, by their facial expressions, by the way they speak or can't speak, or they talk like they've got a scatterbrain, which is the way I talk sometimes. It's kind of obvious, but still, a lot of Aspies will wear the mask because we're trying our very best. And this gets tiring, by the way, you know that. But we're trying our very best just to be accepted. We don't want special treatment, but we just don't want to be rejected. Because, well, stop and think about this. Have you ever met a person with Asperger syndrome who didn't have a history of being rejected? That's painful. I mean, you take a kid who's maybe 10 years old, and if he has Asperger syndrome, probably, chances are, he could tell you stories, horror stories, about going to school and being rejected by his peers. And it seems like it doesn't get any better. I mean, I'm pushing 70 years old, and I can tell you, from life experience, I've gone through this for decades, and people just inherently know there's something quirky about this guy. There's something a little bit odd here, something that's eccentric. And that manifests itself in rejection because people don't like to be around other people who are different. Now, somebody devised a theory about this, or I should say hypothesis about this, and they think just maybe that we are genetically designed to repel other people, that they are repulsed by us because when somebody is acting a little odd, a little bit noticeably different, that would suggest that maybe they have a contagious disease. And so nature has designed us, or this is the hypothesis, that nature maybe has designed us so that we inherently reject people who are just a little bit different, a little bit odd. For them, again, it's a defense mechanism. It's a way to get away from a possible disease. Is that true? I don't know, but yeah, it makes a good hypothesis. Maybe it is true. Number 3 is this. Let's zero in on this one. Let's just kind of double down on this one. There is a substantial difference between people with Asperger syndrome, that is to say people with autism, and neurotypical people. There is a huge difference between us. What that means is people with Asperger syndrome, with autism, we got to double down on the masking. We got to put up a lot of masking. We got to be really good actors. I mean, really good actors, and I got to tell you, I'm not. I just can't do it. I try, it just wears me out. And the problem is, eventually, someone's going to figure it out pretty quickly. Some people say it's a split second. For me, maybe it's a minute. I think sometimes I've actually gone that long, but the mask will slip. So we are always, this is number 4, by the way, we are always vulnerable once the mask slips. So we don't want that mask to slip. We don't want people to know that we have autism. Because if we do, you know what's going to happen. They're going to take advantage of us because we are vulnerable. It is a sign, it's kind of a sign of weakness, socially speaking. Because we inherently have a social deficit because of mind blindness. We don't know how to socialize. We just can't do it. We try and we just make fools of ourselves. And eventually we're going to have to socialize. I mean, if you go to work, you're going to have to talk to somebody. Well, how long can you wear a mask in that situation? You go to school, and at some point in time, somebody's going to say something to you, and you've got to say something back. I don't know, maybe you could wear a mask that you can't hear or you can't speak. But even that, that's not going to last very long either, is it? I mean, there's just no way that we can wear a mask for an extended period of time. And here's something else. Once somebody sees our mask slip and we put it back up, we get back into character, that person who saw our mask slip, they like to clue in other people that we're wearing a mask. I mean, figuratively speaking, but what they will do is they will tug on our mask and pull it down so others can see us. That is to say, they may ridicule us, they may try to intimidate us, they may bully us, they may just, give a little smirk to someone else and kind of a nudge and say, this guy's a little bit off, just as a clue that, this guy's eccentric. Watch out, we have an Aspie here. They may not even know what an Aspie is, but here's somebody who's, this is not a typical normal person. So, yeah, we're vulnerable, and the mask will always slip. Number 5 is this. This is kind of something we just touched on, but people love us unmasked. Now, when I say they love us unmasked, I don't mean they love us, but they like it when we are unmasked because they can take advantage of us. Social defeat is what they call it, and people like to be social winners. They love to be social climbers, and when we are unmasked, well, we're at the bottom of the social hierarchy. So that moves them up one step. Now, I don't understand all of that. I just know that's how groups work. That's just how Homo sapiens are designed by nature to function. That is just the way it is. So neurotypical people, concentric people, they get this feeling of empowerment when they are around people who they feel are inferior. And maybe we're more intelligent than they are. Maybe we know more about the workplace than they do. Maybe we are more capable at doing things than they are. It doesn't matter. What matters the most to most people is that social order, that social hierarchy. As long as they are feeling accepted and acceptable, that's good enough for them. And if they can put us down, or we can make them feel a little bit higher by social defeat, because, we're the mind blindness, we just don't get it. Yeah, they're okay with that. They love it. It's not that they love us, but they love the fact that we are an opportunity for them to have a little bit of an inflated ego. See those two rectangles on the screen? Let's keep talking if you want. All you got to do is click on one of those. Our conversation will go on. If not, thank you for stopping by and see y'all next time.